The Young and the Restless recap for Thursday, October 23rd, reveals that Phyllis Summers the thief will lie to Kane Ashby while Nick Newman suspects Sienna Bacall has secrets. In Phyllis' suite, she'll pat herself on the back for stealing Kane's AI program and now having it on her laptop. Once Kane comes knocking at Phyllis's door, she'll play dumb when he brings up the hacking that resulted in the program vanishing from his servers. Kane will repeatedly push Phyllis to be honest about whether she stole the program, but she'll deny it and suggest Kane should suspect his enemies, starting with Victor Newman. After Kane vows to flush out the person responsible, he'll warn that Phyllis will regret it if she's lying to him or trying to screw him over. Phyllis will calmly reply that she has nothing to worry about. At the hospital in Los Angeles, Sharon Newman will excitedly tell a nurse about Noah Newman's hand twitching while she was reading to him. The nurse will assume it was just an involuntary muscle spasm and assure Sharon that no change in Noah's condition is actually a good thing right now. Sharon will have an angry meltdown during this conversation before apologizing, but the nurse will understand that she's going through a lot. At the hotel cafe, Claire Newman will find Kyle Abbott watching Holden Novak and Sienna having a tense discussion nearby. Kyle will grow increasingly suspicious of Holden and the mystery woman, but Claire will explain that she already met Sienna at the club Holden took her to. After Claire walks over to Sienna and Holden's table, Nick will pop up and greet Kyle, since they'll all be staying at the same hotel. Kyle will get updates on Noah's crash and offer some kind words to Nick. Once Kyle mentions the name Sienna Bacall, Nick will realize the woman talking to Holden is the same one who called Noah's phone. Nick will ultimately step over and catch up with Claire in front of Sienna, as well as Holden. That'll lead to Nick offering news on Noah's crash and hospitalization, so Sienna will pipe up about being the person who spoke to Nick over the phone. Nick will ultimately head back to Sienna's nightclub with her so he can ask more questions. Sienna will act like there's not much to tell, and will suggest Noah was last there a couple nights ago discussing club logistics. Nick will also learn that Sienna's husband, Mitch Bacall, connected with Noah in London and offered to invest in Noah opening a Los Angeles club branch. Nick will quiz Sienna about why she called Noah and why she disconnected so abruptly, but Sienna will act like it was just to discuss more club stuff and will claim she got flustered. After Nick asks for Sienna's phone number, she'll point out that he already has it thanks to Noah's phone. However, Sienna will hand it over anyway and seem on edge over the whole interaction. Back at the hotel on Thursday's Y&R episode, Kyle will get online and hope to find out more about Holden by researching his friend. Kyle will look at information on the Shadow Room, which is the club that Sienna and Mitch run. After Holden drives Claire to the hospital, he'll chat with Sharon briefly and sit in the waiting room. That'll give Claire a chance to share some sweet words with comatose Noah and extend some support to Sharon too. Sharon will talk to Claire about her connection with Nick and always having that one person she can count on. It'll seem like it affects Claire, who'll later have a softer conversation with Kyle. Kyle will ultimately tell Claire that he's going home to Genoa City, so she'll seem surprised as she asks if he's giving up. Holden will speak with Nick at the hospital, but Nick won't buy it when Holden downplays all the Sienna connections and acts like it's a small world. Nick will tell Sharon about his meeting with Sienna and will insist she's definitely hiding something. Afterward, Holden will track Sienna down at the Shadow Room and warn her about the powerful Newman family having a reach that could extend from Genoa City to Los Angeles. Holden will also demand to know how well Sienna knows Noah and how much she knows about what happened to him. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Sienna will get tangled up in more Newman drama soon, so stay tuned. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. The Young and the Restless scoop for Thursday, October 23, reveals Kyle Abbott will tell Claire Newman he's leaving LA. Also coming up, Phyllis Summers will deny Kane Ashby's accusation. Plus, Nick Newman will grill Sienna Bacall, and Holden Novak will ask Sienna how well she knows Noah Newman. Y&R spoilers tease Phyllis will sit in bed with her laptop, going through Kane's AI software. There'll be a knock on the door, and it's Kane. "What did you do?" he'll ask her. Phyllis will play dumb and ask what's wrong. My tech team informed me that someone hacked our system, Kane will reply. My AI program vanished from the servers. But Phyllis will say she thought his system was impenetrable. Do you have a list of suspects? She'll ask, and Kane will say he does. You? However, Phyllis will deny it. So Kane will ask her to look him in the eyes and say she didn't do it. I can't believe you're talking to me like this, she'll reply. Do you know how insulting and disrespectful this is to me? But Kane will continue to accuse her. Then Phyllis will try to convince him Victor Newman stole the software. If I find out you are lying to me or trying to screw me over, Kane will reply, I promise you, Phyllis, I will make you regret it. At the LA hotel restaurant, Kyle will point out Holden talking to a woman to Claire. She'll say it's Sienna Bacall. EB. She runs a club in town and is really nice. You said you weren't going to bother me anymore, she'll tell him. I told you I needed this time, yet here you are. So Kyle will ask if she wants him to go back to Genoa City. That would be ideal, Claire will reply, walking over to Holden and Sienna. Then Nick will come around the corner, and Kyle will be surprised to see him. Nick will say Noah's been in an accident and is in the hospital, which is why he's in LA. He'll also say he knew Claire was in LA and Holden was showing her around. Kyle will say Holden's catching up with an old friend, Sienna Bacall. So, Nick will be shocked. This is unbelievable, he'll seek, walking over to the table. Claire will be surprised to see him and he'll tell her Noah was in a terrible car crash. I recognize your voice, Sienna will see. I'm the one who called Noah. Nick will ask how she knows his son. Sienna will say he visited her club a few times. She'll say she's heading there now and Nick will agree to follow her. Once they arrive, Sienna will say she just recently met his son through her husband Mitch. Then Nick will tell her the police said someone intentionally ran Noah off the road. So, he'll ask Sienna when the last time was she saw him. Sienna will say the same night of the crash. Nick will ask why she called him. Sienna will tell him she wanted information about licenses and permits. Why'd you hang up on me? Nick will ask. And she'll tell him she got flustered. As for Claire and Holden, they'll head to the hospital. Claire will ask Sharon Newman if she can meet Noah. They'll head to his room, and Claire will say hello to him. Sharon will cry as Claire says she'd like to hang out with him in London one day. She'll talk about how much her late dad loved London, and she'll get emotional. Then Nick will return to the hospital and ask Holden how well he knows Sienna. But Claire will show up before Nick can grill him further, and they'll head out. Holden will end up at the shadow room. How well do you know Noah Newman? He'll ask Sienna. And what do you know about what happened to him? Back at the hotel, Kyle will look up the shadow room, hoping it'll lead to dirt on Holden. He'll find the website and read that it's run by Mitch Bacall and his wife Sienna. Claire will return and tell Kyle about how upsetting it was to see her cousin like that, even though she's never met him before. He'll say it must have brought up some memories about her dad. Kyle will tell her he should get going, but Claire will ask him to wait. She'll thank him for the flowers he brought from home. Finally, Kyle will say he's taking her suggestion to heart, and he's decided to go home to Genoa City, and she won't have to worry about him bothering her. You're giving up? She'll ask. But could Claire be having a change of heart about Kyle? Keep reading the Soap Scoop for Young and the Restless Spoilers and News. And make sure to also join our Y&R Facebook group or leave us a reply in our comments section. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Young and the Restless online at cbs.com. Sharon Newman, played by Sharon Case, is facing her worst nightmare all over again on The Young and the Restless. Once again, she's faced with losing another child to a vehicular accident. Only in her son Noah's case, it appears not to be an accident. Recently, Case spoke to Soap Opera Digest about her character's current storyline in which Nick is fighting for his life. We've got a lot coming up, Case previews about the big story that is, so far, taking place in Los Angeles, where Noah had been living. It's gonna be a big storyline, and once it starts, it doesn't stop. It takes good twists and turns, and the story keeps going. Right now, Noah is all bandaged up, but watch for the character, now played by Lucas Adams, to be seen on Tuesday, November 4th. Both Case and Joshua Morrow, Noah's dad, screen-tested with Adams, and Case says a truly good one was chosen in the former day's star. The actress laments the loss of Rory Gibson, who played the part most recently, but she feels he's doing a great job over on General Hospital as Michael. "Everybody's happy," Case says. The actress reveals that top decision-makers came together to give final approval on Adams as Noah. Interestingly, Noah is coming back into his parents' lives just as they've grown closer. At Kane's chateau in France, Nick nearly lost his life after getting into a brawl with Kane's bodyguard. The drama was so intense that Nick and Sharon ended up sharing a kiss, which reminded viewers just how close the two still are with one another. There are ironic parallels between Cassie's accident and now, Noah's. Viewers recall that Cassie's untimely death ultimately split Sharon and Nick up as he drifted into an affair with Phyllis. Might Noah's tragedy bring Nick and Sharon back together? We've got some powerful stories case previews. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, October 24th reveal that Kyle Abbott will interrogate Sienna Bacall while Sally Spectra makes a bold move for Audra Charles. In Los Angeles, Kyle will decide to stick around a bit longer and put Sienna through a grilling session. Since Sienna knows Holden Novak and has a new connection to Noah Newman too, Kyle will have plenty of questions for her. Of course, Kyle will be most interested in whatever damaging info Sienna can offer about Holden. Sienna may quickly realize Kyle wants to make Holden look bad so he can have a better chance of winning back Claire Newman. However, Kyle may argue that he just wants to protect Claire instead. We'll see Kyle work to get to the bottom of this whole shady situation, but Sienna may not be as forthcoming as he might have hoped. Back in Genoa City, Phyllis Summers and Kane Ashby will reach an agreement. Despite any lingering suspicions Kane might have about Phyllis stealing his AI program, they should move forward with their alliance. There's been some tension due to Kane's accusations, but Y&R spoilers say Phyllis has a fresh love interest headed her way. That could mean Phyllis and Kane are about to take their partnership to a sizzling new level. If that's the case, things are sure to get complicated since Phyllis really did steal the program. Kane's revenge may be brewing down the road once he gets proof that Phyllis lied right to his face. On another note, Sally will make a bold move with the goal of helping Audra. That may involve convincing Jill Abbott, and maybe even Billy Abbott, to keep Audra on board at Abbott Communications. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Sally will prove she's a good friend by stepping up, so stay tuned for updates on Audra's latest career news. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Victor Newman may go after fatal revenge and make sure a guilty character pays the ultimate price. Victor could retaliate in a big way against a new enemy, and hope an early grave is the result. If there's one thing fans know about Victor, it's that he doesn't play around when it comes to his family. Victor is quite protective of his children, and especially his grandchildren. If a character dares to hurt anyone with the name Newman, they tend to end up regretting it. Victor is a very powerful man with plenty of connections and people to take care of things for him. That's why Holden Novak felt the need to warn Sienna Bacall about the danger in Y&R's October 23rd episode. Holden made it clear that the Newmans weren't to be messed with since their reach extends far beyond Genoa City. Noah Newman is comatose in a hospital bed right now because someone apparently ran him off the road and into a ravine. Victor may make sure the person responsible pays for what happened to his beloved grandson. Sienna knows more than she's letting on, but she's not the guilty party here. In fact, Sienna was shocked and rattled when she got updates on the news of Noah's horrific ordeal. That said, Sienna's husband, Mitch Bacall, could easily be responsible. The show's really hyping up the mystery surrounding Mitch in anticipation for his on-screen debut. Since we know Roger Howarth's first appearance is just around the corner, it seems likely he'll be playing Mitch. When Howarth's casting was first announced, it was confirmed that he'd be joining the show for an important story arc. Although it's possible Howarth could stick around longer, it sounds like more of a temporary thing, where he'll just be around for this Noah-related drama. If Howarth is portraying Mitch and the person behind Noah almost losing his life, then his run may end with Mitch's demise. Victor may not let Mitch get away with what happened to Noah, so that's something to keep in mind. The Young and the Restless spoilers say, that Victor's revenge could turn fatal down the road, so stay tuned. On The Young and the Restless, we haven't seen much of Devon and Abby since their trip to Nice, France, in July. Abby has been grappling with Chance's death, and Devon has only shared a few scenes with Lily and Amanda. On Tuesday's episode of Y&R, Devon and Abby had drinks at Society, where they spent most of their time bad-mouthing Phyllis and Kane and acting suspicious of Kane's motives toward Lily. Can Devon and Abby please get their own story? On Tuesday's episode of The Young and the Restless, Devon and Abby had drinks at Society and complained about Phyllis's erratic behavior at Christine's bachelorette party the night before. They spent the rest of the time griping about Kane, which is what almost every other resident of Genoa City has been doing since they all learned about his secret identity as Aristotle Dumas. When Lily walked into Society, Kane asked to buy her a drink. A concerned Devon gave her a stare that clearly said, "Tell him no." When she reluctantly agreed and warned Kane not to expect anything, Devon was visibly annoyed. After Kane and Lily sat down to talk, Devon and Abby both stared at them. "Come on, you two. We know Lily is family, and you love her. You're worried she might still have a soft spot for Kane, which she probably does. But she's a grown woman. Let her make her own choices and live with them." Devon and Abby need something to do on The Young and the Restless. Abby and Victoria are half-sisters, but when they were at Christine's party, they barely said a word to each other. That was just plain weird. Let's see them have drinks or lunch together once in a while. They have a lot to catch up on. Since Devon is a record producer, maybe we could get a storyline that puts him in Tessa's and Daniel's orbit, since she is a singer and she's been making music with Daniel. It was funny how Devon and Abby just couldn't stop staring at Kane and Lily. Abby did try to tell Devon a couple of times that Lily can handle herself, so he should leave it alone. He struggled with that advice at first, and then he decided maybe she was right. It feels like the Y&R writers don't know what to do with either Devon or Abby. They are both longtime characters who deserve better than to spend entire episodes getting aggravated over Kane or Phyllis. They deserve their own storyline. Maybe we could hear buzz around GC about a chic new restaurant that could become competition for Society. Maybe it could be located just a block or two away. That could get Abby and Devon brainstorming about changes they could make to Society's menu or decor. There are so many directions the story could take. Let's see something fresh and unique for them in the near future. The Young and the Restless's Chelsea has done her best to keep Adam on the straight and narrow while not igniting Victor's fury. Recently, the con artist surprisingly sided with Victor when it came to doing his bidding. However, Chelsea is still trying to find a way to keep the peace, which is no easy task. For a while, Chelsea did her best to keep Victor at bay in an effort to make sure that the Newman-Abbott war would not continue into the next generation, which would affect her son, Connor. However, push came to shove, and Chelsea sided with Adam when it came to the exposé on Kane and Billy. Was it surprising that Chelsea sided with Adam despite her wanting to keep peace between the Newmans and Abbotts? Not necessarily. I love the way that the show brings out the con artist side of Chelsea. Egan tells Soap Central in this exclusive interview, she's kind of torn between being the kinder person that doesn't want to hurt people. That especially applies to Billy because, as Egan notes, he did save Chelsea's life. The actress says she recently got comments as to why Chelsea was showing sympathy to Billy and trying to play peacemaker, but the couple shares a long history. Chelsea wouldn't be here if it weren't for Billy, she says. He saved her life, and then she cheated on him. I think there's a lot of guilt over that. While Chelsea went ahead with the news articles exposing Kane and Billy, she hasn't lost sight of her dream for the Newman-Abbott wars to come to an end. It's important for her and for her son, Connor, too, Egan says. She's gone back and forth about it, but I like that the show is showing that Chelsea's got that backbone. While Newman Media has struck first, it's likely just the beginning of a media war between the two families, especially as Billy and Sally are now getting Abbott Communications back on track thanks to Jill. There's a lot more coming up too, Egan previews. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Sharon Case recently spilled some upcoming twists and turns, so let's talk about what's next in the Noah Newman mystery story. In an interview with Sod, Case expressed excitement over the show's decision to take the action to Los Angeles with new sets and cast members. Although Case couldn't give too much away, she did promise some curveballs that'll keep things going for quite some time. We've got a lot coming up. It's going to be a big storyline, and once it starts, it doesn't stop. It takes good twists and turns, and the story keeps going, Case teased. Of course, Y&R recast Noah for this storyline, so Sharon Case spoke about that too. Both Case and Joshua Morrow pitched in when the show was auditioning new actors to fill the role. After Case and Morrow did screen tests with the Mies potential Noah recast candidates, Lucas Adams ultimately won the part. Case raved over Adams in acting and clearly approves of her new TV son, who's set to make his first appearance on November 4th. Although it was tough to say goodbye to Rory Gibson's version of Noah, Case suggested that everything worked out for the best since Gibson is just tearing it up on General Hospital as Michael Corinthos. Lucas Adams has been filming fantastic scenes of his own, so Sharon Case seems eager for everyone to see his on-screen debut in Coma Awakening. As for Nick and Sharon's romantic feelings rekindling, there have been signs of that happening since they were in Nice. It's too early to say whether Sharon and Nick will have a full-blown reunion, but Case hinted it's great to circle back to that connection and fit it in with the emotional material they're delivering. Bottom line, the show's setting the stage for some gripping drama, so things are only going to get more exciting from here. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Sharon and Nick will continue to have their hands full with Noah-related problems in LA, so we'll bring you updates on any shocking news they'll uncover. On the Wednesday, October 22nd episode of The Young and the Restless, Ian haunted and taunted Mariah. Sharon made a difficult decision. Daniel professed his love for Tessa, and Nick started digging into Sienna's pietu. Asked. In Los Angeles, Sharon filled Nick in on Mariah's worsened state, and she expressed regret at being unable to be there for her. She couldn't leave Noah in his current condition, but Mariah asked for her directly, so Sharon's conflicted. Nick promised Sharon that Mariah would understand, but Sharon recalled how the pause in her voice may have influenced Mariah's mindset. Nick urged Sharon to visit Mariah at the clinic if her worry continued to increase. He was certain that Noah wouldn't know the difference, but Sharon rebuked that notion. She said, "No, that is not true. He's in there. He can hear my voice even if he cannot answer, and he knows when it's my hand lying in his hand." Still, Nick felt like Sharon had allowed guilt to drive her decision-making. Two of Sharon's children are in deep, unimaginable pain, and there was nothing she could do to fix things. She fell into Nick's arms and cried again. Sharon phoned the clinic to update them on her recent interactions with Mariah, and hoped her information would aid in her daughter's treatment. With that out of the way, Sharon returned to Noah's bedside, and Nick made a call to Nikki with an update on Noah's crash. Nick stood by his assertion that the detective asked a bizarre line of questions, and between that and the call from Sienna, things didn't add up. Everything felt off, and more questions kept arising about how Noah ended up fighting for his life. The man who claimed to be law enforcement wasn't forthcoming about anything. Sienna made things feel even murkier, so Nick wanted his father to run a background check on her to uncover her connection to Noah. Sharon decided how to handle her conflict with Mariah. She felt like staying in Los Angeles with Noah was the best place for her. Noah's condition could change, and she needed to be there for him. Sharon thought Mariah was safe in Boston, so it didn't require her immediate attention. At the Boston clinic, Ian taunted Mariah about the look on her face and urged her to remember how well he knew her. He told her that she had given herself a self-imposed loneliness, and she insisted he wasn't real. Mariah told Ian that he was in hell where he belonged. Ian prodded Mariah to remember the courage she possessed and not to hide behind predictable arguments. Mariah didn't think Ian was real, and she thought her mind had tricked her. Mariah attempted to reason with the situation by reminding herself that Victor shot and killed him. However, Ian reached for her hand and asked her to feel his living, beating heart. She wanted him to leave, but he refused. Ian brought up Tessa, leaving her behind, and used Mariah's shame to further lure her. He felt as if Mariah was trying to distance herself from everyone to avoid hurting them. Ian wondered if he played a minimal role in Mariah's current ordeal. He questioned whether she mentioned him during therapy sessions because of their shared past. He ranted, "I am the guiding force behind your entire existence." Mariah refused to look at Ian, and although she tried to close her eyes and make him disappear, when she opened them, he was still there. She was locked inside a room with the face of her fears. Ian looked to the floor and picked up the Queen of Hearts. However, this time, the card was whole, instead of torn from Tessa's pain. He teased that he'd be the key to helping her through the madness. Ian felt like nobody knew her better or longer, and he was all she had left. Mariah had had enough and stood up to say, "I can't get rid of you, no matter what I do, and I have done terrible things to try and get you out of my life, things that I can't wash away." Ian proclaimed he adored the darkness inside Mariah, and he praised her dark instincts. He reminded her of how she had haunted Sharon several years ago, pretending to be her dead daughter. Ian didn't think the good girl act was meant to last, and she needed to embrace her evil nature. Mariah wanted him to stop talking, but he enjoyed how she pushed away Tessa and their daughter. Since Ian felt like he knew all of the answers, Mariah asked how she should proceed. He wished for her to find a way to unleash her fire on the world. Unfortunately for Mariah, Ian picked up on her holding something back, and he wanted more details. She wouldn't give in to his pleas because to her, he didn't exist. Everything was about him and Jordan and how they committed heinous atrocities simply to get to her. She was overridden by guilt, and every thought and feeling left her wanting to escape. Alcohol wasn't enough of an eraser because the sickness he infected her with overtook every part of her life. Mariah walked through her actions from the night she attacked the man and how he reminded her of Ian. He was a real person, but his existence was an echo of Ian, and she was left with no choice. Ian wanted more details and needed to know her method, and she confessed she lured him into a false sense of security. Once he invited her back to his room, Mariah knew the only solution was to kill the monster before her. He served as a surrogate for Ian, and killing him would make his influence disappear from her life. Mariah wanted to be the one to kill Ian, but Victor beat her to the punch. Ian was shocked to learn that Mariah couldn't follow through with killing him. If she took that man's life, it would be giving Ian the ultimate level of control. He remarked, "Here we are, just the two of us. I know why you couldn't ill that poor man. Because you couldn't kill me. We're kindred spirits, you and I, and the darkness I've awakened with you, it's on." She rebuffed any accusations that she was anything like him. Mariah didn't follow through with the murder because she was a decent human being. She was filled with remorse for her actions, and being in the facility was the only way to move forward. Ian wanted to mold Mariah into an evil entity while he was alive, and now she is determined to prove she'd never be like him. Mariah's last word to Ian was that he was nothing and no one, and she wanted him gone. She closed her eyes again, but this time, he vanished when she opened them. However, the fully intact Queen of Hearts remained, which left her questioning everything. Daniel and Tessa continued their drunken lip lock at the athletic club until Tessa backed off. They both tried taking accountability for the kiss, and Tessa settled on blaming the alcohol. Daniel said it was just a distraction, but she corrected him and revealed she had imagined the kiss for quite some time. It wasn't a random occurrence, and Daniel admitted he also thought about kissing her. They both realized the other one had always had a desire for things to escalate. Daniel was certain it was wishful thinking, and Tessa wondered if acting on it was terrible. It was an awkward situation between them, but they decided to sleep it off and forget it ever happened. Tessa questioned whether Daniel could wake up and erase the kiss from his mind. The kiss jolted both of them awake, so they agreed to a walk. Daniel and Tessa settled on Crimson Lights for coffee, but Tessa worried she had ruined the foundation of their friendship. Daniel felt like it would all blow over, but she was concerned it was too uncomfortable. She wanted him to be upfront and not hold back his thoughts or feelings. Tessa admitted, "I have feelings for you that I can't explain. There's comfort, but there's also excitement. I see your face and I hear your voice, and I feel relief because I know life will be brightened for however long I'm with you, and that feeling, it makes me float. But it also grounds me. And it's gotten me through so many moments and so many days. It's wonderful, but it's awful too. She agreed with Daniel that life was complicated, but he was the embodiment of reassurance because, despite all of the darkness, he still possessed light. Tessa called him her best friend, which prompted him to reveal he was falling in love with her, but he quickly expressed regret. He tried to storm off, and although she wanted him to stay, Daniel wanted to stay silent. Regardless, she was grateful for their time together, and in another universe, she could fall in love with him too. Tessa wondered if it helped knowing she'd love him in a different timeline or universe, but it didn't. He could only focus on his real life, and she was lost and undecided. Tessa didn't want to lead Daniel on and stated her intentions to fight for her marriage and family. He vowed to recover from the kiss, and if they couldn't forget what happened, they needed to move past it. Daniel didn't want this blip to ruin the friendship they'd spent so long building. How the soap star and Joshua Morrow helped pick Schick's son, the Young and the Restless fans will have to wait until Tuesday, November 4th, to see Lucas Adams as the new Noah. But Sharon Case has shared details about the casting process. In an interview with Soap Opera Digest, the actress opened up about her and Joshua Morrow's involvement in picking who'd fill Rory Gibson's shoes. TV and film lovers are familiar with chemistry reads. As soap fans, we sometimes get to watch these moments unfold in real time, as writers and producers experiment with fresh dynamics on screen and pair new actors with established talent. But when it comes to choosing who will play a main character, the casting process gets a bit intense. Case shared that there's a theater at CBS where the top brass go to watch the big auditions. Actors in the running for the open role are paired with a veteran of the soap to get an understanding of how well they can act opposite one another. It's also about how they look together, particularly for legacy characters with a parent or parents on the show. They want to make sure they're believable as relatives. This is the process Adams went through as the network and the team behind Y&R worked to narrow down their pool of hopefuls. Case said that she and Morrow were part of the selection as the actors who play Noah's parents, revealing they'd screen-tested with more than one actor looking to land the role. She gushed about how happy she is with the choice made, but Case was also quick to note, "We're sorry to see Rory go, but Rory is just tearing it up on General Hospital. He's right where he belongs. I'm glad to see that happen for him. It all ended well. We have a good new Noah, and everybody's happy." With Noah laid up in a hospital bed with his face bandaged, and Mariah seeing a deceased Ian Ward while at a mental health facility, Sharon is going to have her hands full as a mother. As such, Nick will more than likely continue to play the role of her support as they navigate what's going on. He's already suspicious of Noah's supposed friend, who's been dodgy with him on the phone. Sharon has been anxious about splitting her attention between her two children, who each need her right now. The words emotional and roller coaster might not even begin to describe what they're experiencing, but it's possible that it could bring Nick and Sharon even closer. Sean Dominic hit the Daytime Emmy red carpet to dish on Nate's love life, his on-screen family bonds, and the surprising advice he got from a Y&R legend. Soap Hub caught up with the Young and the Restless star, Sean Dominic, on the red carpet at the Daytime Emmy Awards. He gave us some insight into Nate's current love life, but how long will his single state last? Dominic told Soap Hub that Nate is single and on the market. Of course, given how things are going with Victoria, it is easy to see that Nate may not stay single for long. Plus, we're never ones to count out Audra. They had a good relationship, and it seems that Audra still wants Nate too. There may be a battle for Nate's heart coming up. The actor couldn't tease details of what's happening with Nate in the coming weeks, but he did share some great insight into how working with Valerie Pettiford had been the last several months. Dominic said that he was proud of Nate's work with his family, including Lily and Devon, and of course Amy and his late brother Damien. Additionally, the actor shared some great advice he received from his co-star, Peter Bergman. Check out the red carpet interview below. Fans would love to see Kane save Noah's life, which would make for a heartwarming story. Noah is currently recovering from a horrific car crash. Meanwhile, Kane is desperate to repair his tarnished image on The Young and the Restless. What better way than to save Noah's life to make himself look good in the eyes of everyone, even his kids and the Newmans? We previously discussed Cain's road to redemption, a slow-burning storyline that unfolds over time. He wants to redeem himself in Lily's and their children's eyes. Adam mentioned that it would take a miracle for Cain to restore his reputation. The original poster on one soap opera board speculated whether his AI program could help save Noah's life. Some fans scoffed at the bizarre idea. How could AI save someone's life? Would it give him a new body? Cain creates a human AI, Noah. If he could do that, he would have created a human AI Lily, one fan joked. Someone else came up with a realistic idea that Cain could be a donor match for Noah. Wow! Then Cain can do something altruistic to save Noah. The big question would be, will Victor and the other Newmans show any kind of appreciation to Cain for saving Noah? Another person asked. Some fans are in favor of this idea, as it could help put Cain in a different light. Currently, he's portrayed as a greedy billionaire who wants to acquire everyone's businesses and properties, but he wants to focus on what's important, his family. I really like the idea that Cain will save Noah's life. That would be a great story, one person wrote. I would love a story like that too. If done right, it could be a great story for sure, someone else commented. Other fans think this storyline would make Cain a hero, but only temporarily. Something similar happened to Adam, donated a kidney to Faith, after he was found to be a match for her rare blood type when she needed a transplant. It didn't help improve his image, as his own family still sees him as the black sheep and eternal dark prince. However, if Cain does something selfless for Noah, it could appear differently in the eyes of the twins. That's what matters to Cain at the end of the day. He just wants his kids to love him again. Y&R is also slowly building up to Noah's shocking reveal in November. What are your thoughts? Do you think Cain could help save Noah's life? How do you think he'll redeem himself? Let us know in the comments section. Young and the Restless spoilers for Oct 27-31, 2025. Expect Sally Spectra's taking a big risk, and Daniel Romalotti is in love. As we always do on Early Edition Day, we start with what's coming the rest of this week, and then we're going to dive into what's next week. So, Wednesday, October 22nd, we have Sharon Newman telling Nick Newman that Mariah Copeland said she needs her. Nick encourages Sharon to go be with Mariah in Boston since Noah Newman is unconscious and won't know if she's there or not. Sharon is very stressed out, says 2 of her kids are broken, but she's also very worried that something will happen to Noah if she leaves and she won't be there for him. So, Sharon calls Mariah's therapist and talks to her about what's going on and her progress, and then she tells Nick that she's going to stay in Los Angeles. Sharon thinks that Mariah is where she needs to be and is getting the help that she needs. But it doesn't look that way actually, because Mariah is hallucinating Ian Ward on Wednesday, but she's saying he's dead. She still thinks he's dead. He's not really there. And he says Tessa Porter left her. And then Ian says he's all that Mariah has left. Ian's talking about how he's a part of her, and he knows her. Mariah says that's not true and calls him a stalker. Ian is saying he adores the evil inside of her, like when she stalked and haunted Sharon years ago. Ian's actually encouraging her to unleash her darkness. Mariah tells Ian how she met a man that reminded her of him, and they drank, they kissed, she went up to his room, and then Mariah tried to kill the guy. Ian says she couldn't kill the guy because she doesn't want Ian dead. He thinks Mariah likes his darkness too. And bear in mind, this is all inside her head. So these are all the things she's thinking and fearing about herself. Mariah vows she will never be evil like Ian. And Mariah also promises she will never let Ian break her. She says he doesn't matter, and she wants him gone. And then Ian suddenly is gone. But the Queen of Hearts card that Tessa had torn apart is now bizarrely whole, which it was when Ian was touching it. So we're getting supernatural. Really? It's just weird. Nick calls Nikki Newman about this guy, Detective Burrow, and also tells her that Noah was getting some calls from this woman, Sienna Bacall. So Nikki takes the info on Sienna, says she's going to have Victor Newman's people check her out. Nick is in tears talking to his mom, saying he doesn't want to go through a tragedy with another kid. And Nikki tells him that suffering is part of life. Daniel and Tessa make out until she stops it, and then she apologizes and says she was overstepping. Daniel and Tessa both admit they've thought about kissing each other. Daniel says that, they'll wake up tomorrow and they can just forget it happened. But they agree they can't really forget. And they take a walk to get coffee to talk it through. Tessa admits she has feelings for Daniel and says that he's important to her. Tessa calls Daniel her best friend, and he tells Tessa he is falling in love with her, but he's tearing up about it. And then Tessa says in another timeline she would be falling for Daniel. But Tessa's not done fighting for her marriage, and Daniel agrees that she should keep fighting for her marriage. Thursday, October 23rd on Young and the Restless. We have got Kyle Abbott trying to find out something about Holden Novak. So, Kyle is spying on Holden, looking for dirt, hoping to convince Claire Grace Newman to cut the guy out of her life. But I don't think it's going to work out well for Kyle. So, at the hotel restaurant, Holden is talking to Sienna, and Kyle is lurking nearby and watching. And Claire walks up and asks, "What the heck is Kyle doing?" And he tries to flip it around and says, "Who's that with Holden and what's he doing?" And of course, Claire knows exactly who that is. Also, on Thursday, Sienna meets with Nick. And I'm sure Nick wants to know if Sienna can tell him anything about who would target Noah and how they know each other. If Sienna does know who is after Noah, the question is, will she tell Nick? So, she called his number 4 times. So it looks like they are in regular contact, and she knew something was wrong. Maybe she was helping him with his project to buy the club there. We'll see. Holden may also know Noah because Audra Charles dated both of them and they have an overlap with Sienna. We'll find out. Phyllis Summers stuns Kane Ashby. We know that Phyllis wants to get her hands on Kane's AI program. Maybe she will try and seduce him out of it. Friday, October 24th on Young and the Restless. We're going to end the week with Sally taking a big risk. She really puts herself out there for Audra. This likely concerns the job offer that Sally gave Audra at Abbottcom. And of course, Sally has had to go begging for investors and talked Jill Abbott into it, but she may not want Audra involved. Billy Abbott has resigned himself to it, so the pushback may come from Jill. Kyle tries to squeeze information out of Sienna about Holden. I'm sure Kyle is hoping Sienna will give him some dirt, tell him something terrible about Holden, but I can't imagine Sienna is going to tell Kyle anything. Damian, Kane, and Phyllis reach an understanding, and it may be about the AI. He may set some parameters. The week of October 27th through the 31st on Young the Restless is going to be pretty busy. The last 2 days of that week, Thursday, October 30th, Friday, October 31st, are the first 2 days of November sweeps. So hopefully they're going to be building up to big action. Nick is putting all his effort into finding out who tried to kill Noah and why. And he is going to be relentless. Hopefully Nick's going to get some help from Sienna. We also have Roger Howarth's new character due on the scene. Maybe he's the bad guy who's after Noah. You never know. We've also heard Sienna mention her boyfriend Mitch, so that could be who Roger Howarth is playing. Christine Williams and Danny Romalotti can't wait to get married. They are getting married in November sweeps. I can't imagine that Phyllis is going to be a grown-up and stay away from the wedding. I wonder if she's going to mess with Christine's dress. Just typical Phyllis stuff. Holden may offer to help Sharon and Nick get to the bottom of what happened to Noah, which might get him some brownie points with the Newmans and with Claire. It would definitely impress Victor and Nikki. Claire continues to try to get Kyle to go back to Genoa City, but he doesn't listen to her, and he never does what she asks or respects her boundaries. So I can't imagine he'll go. Tessa and Daniel try to protect their friendship and ignore the sparks they're both feeling. And Mariah is looking like she may get a lot worse before she gets better. We'll see if Ian shows up again to haunt her.